Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into a specific feeling, what summer in Korea is actually like. Our mission here is to unpack why it feels so distinct, so intense, and how people manage based on the source material we've looked at.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is how the material goes beyond just, temperature charts. It really gets into the feeling of it, how it impacts everyday life in a really tangible way.
Absolutely. So let's start right there with that core feeling. What we've gathered really emphasizes that Korean summers are, well, intensely hot and humid. The description is vivid. Air feels wet and heavy. You sweat a lot and feel tired. It's that sort of damp clinginess, that mugginess, right? That seems key.
Exactly. That term mugginess, hot and wet weather, it's more than just heat. Our info points to consistently high dew points, often staying over 20 Celsius, which is, 68 Fahrenheit. And that means the air is holding a lot of moisture. It makes it much harder for your body to cool down by sweating. So it's a real physiological load people are dealing with.
Wow, yeah, mugginess sounds exhausting. So how do people cope? How do they find relief, especially indoors?
Well, the sources show practicality rules indoors. Obviously, you have fans and air conditioners doing a lot of the heavy lifting for immediate cooling.
Sure, the standard stuff.
Right. But it also mentions things like architectural features, maybe hinting at traditional designs like open verandas for airflow. And in cities, you see things like huge underground malls, air-conditioned public spaces that act like cool refuges.
Ah, interesting. So it shapes public spaces too.
Definitely. And on a personal level, constantly drinking cold water is just essential. Simple, but crucial.
Okay, so that's indoors. But what about when you're out and about?
Yeah.
Or just, living daily life? Food, clothes?
That's where culture really comes in. The material highlights eating cool food. I think things like ice cream or cold noodles. Naengmyeon, that chilled noodle soup, is classic summer food.
Oh, right, like Peping too, the shaved ice dessert.
Exactly. Those aren't just snacks, they're ways to physically cool down. It's a deliberate strategy embedded in the food culture.
And clothes too, I imagine.
Yep, the source mentions wearing light clothes, which just makes practical sense in that kind of heavy air.
And it also notes that people tend to stay inside during the afternoon, like the hottest part of the day.
It becomes a sort of rhythm. Avoid the peak heat, find somewhere cool, homes, cafes, those underground malls again. It's a shared way to navigate the intensity.
A collective adaptation almost.
Pretty much. And thankfully, it's not forever. The sources clearly state, after summer, the weather becomes cool again. There's that definite seasonal shift, something to look forward to. The cooler autumn provides real relief.
So pulling this all together, this deep dive really shows that Korea's summer climate isn't just, weather data. It profoundly shapes daily life, routines, comfort strategies, even cultural touchstones like food.
Absolutely. It dictates so much, from architecture to social habits. Which brings up a really interesting final thought for you, the listener. How do these really distinct weather patterns, like this humid Korean summer, fundamentally shape the culture and day-to-day life of a place? Think about it for your own environment, food, building styles, maybe even how people socialize. How much of that is influenced by climate in ways we don't always notice?
That's a great question. How the environment subtly shapes us. Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.